Natalie, before you joined the Miss Universe Canada and the Miss Universe pageant, we learned that you joined the Miss Maja World 2014 in Colombia. Tell me about your experience and what did you learn from that pageant?
That was an interesting pageant.
Yeah.
That was in Colombia. We went there with another good friend of mine who was competing with me in Miss Canada. So she was representing the USA in that pageant. And the whole pageant experience, I would say, was quite fun. We traveled all over Colombia. We got to wear traditional costumes and meet local people. And it was just a beautiful experience of traveling around. To be honest with you, my actual pageant stage experience wasn't the best because my foot, I almost broke my foot walking on the stage because it was made of wooden planks, and my foot went right through the wooden planks because it was covered with plastic and I didn't see that there was a hole. So I scraped the top of my foot. I still have scar on the top of my foot from that time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like my foot was really damaged, and then I felt like my dress wasn't good enough because I wasn't prepared with my dress. Then I remember when we were competing, I couldn't get my sarong off. Like we had little sarongs in our swimsuit, and I couldn't untie it. So I ended up just like fumbling with it, and I couldn't untie it. So I was like, okay, forget it. I'm just gonna take it off. And so
The show must go on. Yeah.
yeah, like everything went wrong, and I ended up being what, like I think second runner up or something in there, and I didn't even feel bad about it because I was like, well, it is what it is.
And it is
It
an
just like
experience
bad
as
luck.
well,
Yes.
you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was great experience, and I took so much out of that because that helped me to gain a bit more confidence for going to Miss Universe as well, for sure.
Mhm. And going back to finally winning Miss Universe, you've traveled a lot during your reign, and I still remember that the one travel that you had in South Africa where you had a public HIV test. And so, among all the countries you've traveled as a Miss Universe, which one made an impact in your life?
Mm. Well, it's interesting you mentioned South Africa trip. It was definitely one of my very life-changing trips. I think it was my first or second trip as Miss Universe. I can't remember. It was India and South Africa, the two trips. I can't remember which one came first. I think maybe South Africa was first. And it was definitely a shock because being from Canada, and I didn't really get to travel before. I came from Russia straight to Canada. And besides Colombia and Nicaragua, I didn't really travel that much anywhere else. So to visit South Africa and to see how different the world is, and we went to so many local villages to see how people live in very, very poor parts of the country. It was quite shocking to me. And of course, coming from sort of a sheltered background in Canada, we're not exposed to poverty, we're not exposed to disease and pandemics and all of those things. So being in South Africa and seeing the devastation that AIDS causes, I think it was very, very touching to me. And I remember even crying for the first few nights that I was in South Africa because I couldn't handle the fact that we were seeing people dying. And we were going to orphanages where children were born with HIV and with AIDS. And it was just so heartbreaking to me. So I think a lot of my growth and a lot of maturity happened in that trip. And I'll forever remember that trip because of that. And of course, you know, giving a public HIV test, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever taken a test like that, but it's not fun. You know what I mean? Like, I have taken that test, of course, many times since then. And every time it's like, oh my God, this is so nerve-wracking, right? This is not a fun thing to do. But the fact that it was public too, it was just really, really traumatic for me. It's a traumatic experience, right?
I agree.
But in a way, it taught me so much. It taught me a lot about this situation in Africa, the fact that this affects every human being in the world. It's not just people who are in Africa, right? It's kind of something that we all have to be across the world, be aware of the
Yes.
dangers of AIDS and be able to protect ourselves, know our status, get tested. So it was a huge, like, eye-opening experience for me, which before that, I had no idea about anything. I didn't
Yes.
know. So it was a learning experience for sure.
Your reign as Miss Universe at that time, where the social media wasn't even a big thing, what do you think was the advantage of reigning as a beauty queen during that time?
During that time,
Yeah.
because there was no social media, of course, the disadvantage would be lack of connection with fans, lack of connection with people who want to know about Miss Universe. So a lot of the things that maybe you saw at that time was pictures on the Miss Universe website, right? You
Yes.
didn't get to see what really my life was like. But on the other hand, the advantage was that we didn't get criticized as much. So you didn't have to every single day read some negative comments, which of course happens, right? There's going to be positive comments and there's going to be negative comments. But I feel like this, in this day and age of social media being so widely available to everybody, the girls have to grow thicker skin to,
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah,
to
that's
go
true.
through all of that criticism, because everyone has an opinion and everyone is going to weigh in. And sometimes we just have to block and just be like, okay, that's okay. It's just an opinion of somebody else. It doesn't really, affect me and who I really am, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And now you definitely fell in love with Thailand that you decided to move there after passing your crown. So, aside from your pageant experience, what drew you closer to Thailand?
besides the pageant experience, well, I guess I mentioned before already because I felt so interested in the culture. It was so different to me than anything that I've known before. And so I decided that I would like to experience living there for a year. And during my year as Miss Universe, I kept going back to Thailand, I think 5 times for different things. And every time I went, I made more connections, I made more friends, I fell
Mhm.
in love with it more. So I started to feel like this is a place that is familiar to me. This is a place like I can call a second home. So when I got an opportunity to work for Singha company, they said, would you like to come to Thailand and be our brand ambassador for 1 year? I just felt like, yeah, why not? I already feel comfortable. I know the country. I love it so much. The people that I've met, I've connected with them so well. And I've loved everything about it. I love the weather, the food, all the fruits, the beaches. Like, it's such an, as I said, it's different and it was unique to me. So I wanted to experience living in a place like that.
Mhm. I remember we interviewed Michelle McLean a few weeks ago, and she also had a lot of good things to say about Thailand.
Oh, I love Michelle. We traveled in India together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we were working for a company that does some kind of sports events. And so Michelle and I, we were one of the presenters there. We spent a month together in India. It was really cool.